Number 1.
Number 1 is Aston Villa.
And number 18.
And number 18 is Birmingham City.
There's nothing quite like Derby Day. When the game's on, you can forget about all the pre-match nonsense and you can just get on with the business of who's the better team on the day. Fantastic. Derby days, once you get into the game, it's fantastic. I love it.
And people act as if it is the most important thing in the world at that time. Obviously, it's a game of football, but to us, it's everything.
You've got two huge clubs, with it being the second city as well. It brings a lot of focus, obviously, from the media, from all eyes are on it.
You know, it just sucks you in a Birmingham Villa derby because, of course, you want Birmingham to win. You know, you want them to do the business. It's part of that hereditary disease that's passed down from generation to generation.
One thing that makes this game in particular special is we don't have it twice a year like a lot of derbies. You know, we haven't played them now for 5 years, and we all remember what happened last time. Zigic down here in the cup.
And I think over the years the games between the two clubs have always been full of drama, always have talking points, major talking points, some good, some bad, but there's always entertainment with that.
It's just that belief that you have within you, because you've bought into you buy into that club, you love your club so much, you buy into that belief that, wow, this is our day, we're going to do it. And that's why you invest so much into the game itself, more than any game I can go and watch.
It's everything to us here, because if you've got a mate who's a Villa fan, you cannot lose a game to Villa. If we lose in this cup game, you'll never hear the end of it.
Every supporter's going to say their derby is a special one, but for us, I think you look at the crowds and the passion and being at a game, that is a huge difference to others. For me, in my opinion, again, I've been lucky enough to play in some other derbies up and down the country, but this one, nothing gets close to it.
Obviously, as a Blues fan, I don't like them. None of us like them, but I think we have to admit we have a little bit of respect for them because they're a big club, they've won things, but at the same time, and this is why they're a little bit jealous of us, they don't have Birmingham in their name like we do. We are the team of the city, they're not, they're the team of Aston, a small part of Birmingham.
They've got a history and a heritage that is very important to them, and quite right too. But of course, with every year that goes by where they don't add to that history and heritage with another trophy, then I think that infuriates the older generation of supporters.
It's weird really, because obviously I grew up a Blues fan, but I've got a lot of good friends who are Villa fans, so the rivalry and the banter that we've had since I was little growing up, it always has been a lot of fun to say the least.
There'll be a generation of young Villa supporters who won't know trophy success the way that their dads and their granddads do, and that there must be a real interesting mix of opinions on, at the Holt end, or you've got this generation who've been, well, this is what Villa are about, and they're watching this Villa side who've not had a great time of it in the Premier League. Got to the FA Cup final, of course, last year. Shouldn't forget that. But they'll probably say, well, where's this Villa that you're talking about? And there must be a real dichotomy between those two.
They've always been in the Premier League, they've always been up there, and I think they feel that they're the slightly bigger club because of that. But no, I'd always argue the point that we're on par, especially with the support base that we've got and the fan base they've got as well. I'd say it's pretty even.
They're a club that has the potential to be at the higher elite of the Premier League, but obviously at the moment it's just not happening for them. Their opinion of us,
The one thing I always get is obviously they're a Premier League team. They've always been up in the Premier League, so they feel that, you know, they have the edge in that sense. The European Cup and things like that get brought up.
I don't really care what their opinion is of my club, just as they shouldn't give two hoots about my opinion for theirs. What I care about is BCFC.
The public perception that they share is that we're just a small club. Small Leaf, they like to call us. But the amount of attention that they pay to us and what goes on here on a daily basis tells you that they care. They're jealous in some small extent, whatever it may be. Like I said, we have Birmingham in our name. They don't.
Maybe they feel they are slightly ahead of us in terms of history and things like that. But I'd like to think that they do fear us a little bit.
We've got that glorious moment. We've had a League Cup win, which we may never see again in our lifetime, who knows, I don't know. And we've had a European football run which deserved better. 10 points, we didn't qualify, God knows how we didn't. I mean, you know, thanks Braga and Bruges. But we've got that so that Blues fans can hang on to that. And we have every right to hang on to that because of everything we've suffered and taken, the brickbats that we've suffered from all fans, you know, not just our local rivals. We've had that glorious little moment, and too right we should hang on to that. And that just gives us a feeling of, not entitlement to win derbies, but a feeling that, well, no, we've got our place in this game because we've done something in recent years. We haven't just been in a fallow period. Hang on, we've made some pretty big achievements, so give us the respect we deserve. Initially, we had that terrific run against Villa in the Premier League when we first got promoted.
The famous Enkelman incident.
Stern John got that late equaliser.
Incredible! Dublin v Savage.
Zigic down here in the cup.
I had a ticket to stand on the Tilton for the first Blues Villa derby in the Premier League.
Anyone that was here will tell you the ground was rocking. You could feel it vibrate under your feet.
That first goal from Morrison at the other end, at the Gilmerick end.
Savage! Morrison!
The noise. I've never felt a stand shake as the Tilton Road shook when that goal went in. That was just manna from heaven. That was an amazing atmosphere to be in amongst the crowd. Because so often you're up in the press box trying to take in games like this, but I was in amongst it and loving it.
And that atmosphere is something that you only get in games like this.
I remember the first derby at Villa Park, that Dublin Savage game, and it was surreal for me to sort of be there and be on the pitch and look over and see the Blues fans and think, you know, that's all I'd known to that point in terms of Blues Villa, being in the away end, being in the home end, supporting the team. So the passion and everything and the explosiveness of the game, and for us to come out and win that game as well. That was my first taste of actually as a player. I was fortunate that we had a good run of results against them, so the confidence going into them derby games at that time, we always felt like we had the mental edge over them. You look at maybe the Downs when they beat us 5-1 at Villa Park, try to block that one from the memory.
That was not a good memory.
That's a bad memory.
So I was on air as the host. I had Alvin Martin and Ray Houghton sat next to me, Ray Houghton ex-Villa, and Nigel Pearson was our reporter at Villa Park. And my producer, who I couldn't hear through the glass on the other side in the production office, as it went 2-0, 3-0, and we were getting heavily beaten, my producer said to Nige, when you call these goals, make sure you're really ramping up how good Villa are to wind Dance up. So I couldn't tell you who scored the goals for Villa, but anyway, the second, the third, the fourth and the fifth, for every one of those goals, first of all, Nigel is giving it plenty. And off the back of his report where he gave the score out, say Aston Villa 3, Birmingham City 0, the producer didn't open my microphone fader. He started playing the Victorian Death March. and he'd leave it for 10 seconds and then he'd open the fader. And how am I supposed to? I mean, that's cruel, really cruel. I'm sat there itching to say something, and I can't because he's switched my microphone off and he's playing this da 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 music.
I don't think that one was the worst, because the game was already over after the second or third goal, and our season had completely fizzled out. We were going down. For me, giving away the penalty at Villa Park that was never a penalty is quite fresh in my mind, because it was only a few years ago, and that really should never have happened.
As a club, because of what we've been through, we maybe are more geared towards defeat, in the sense that the gallows humour, I think, we're pretty good at as a club. But then I'm speaking for supporters I don't know with Villa fans.
And then I look at when Stern John scores an equaliser in the 94th minute, the elation and the celebrations of that goal.
Stephen John must equalise, and has! Incredible! 30 seconds from the final whistle!
The fans were just losing their minds, falling all over the place. Even one of the stewards behind the goal was clearly a Blues fan and was jumping for joy. I don't know if he lost his job because of that, but the man was celebrating like there was no tomorrow.
All I had was teletext. So I'm doing my show and Stern John equalises, and I didn't realise until the page had flicked over on CFAX, because it had been just 2-1, 2-1, every time it flicked over 2-1. And I'm halfway through a link, so I'm talking to the listeners about nothing to do with football, and it flicks over 2-2, Stern John, and it says FT. So not only have we scored, but they've blown the... How I didn't swear on air, having just seen that coming out the corner of my eyes. I'm doing a link about the Sugar Babes or something. I have no idea how I kept that together.
That was a draw, so imagine if that was a winner.
Of course you can enjoy a Villa derby. That's what we're in the game for, isn't it? To have those moments, and every game's unique. No two Blues Villa derbies are ever the same, just as any two football matches of any description are the same. So there's that element of the unknown.
You only enjoy it if you win, obviously, and like I say, as a player, I was very fortunate that I was on the winning side the majority of the time. But as a supporter, again, when you're sitting there and you see it looking across and their fans are celebrating and gloating a little bit, as always happens, and you can't blame them. It's a rotten feeling. So yeah, unless you win or get a good result, like when we got a last-minute equaliser at Villa Park through Stern John, they're the only games really that you can say you enjoy the derby games.
Your emotions are everywhere. They're all over the place. It can be the highest high or the lowest low, depending on what happens and how it happens. It means everything for everybody. No one's going to deny it on either side. It's a cup final for us, it's a cup final for them. And whoever wins is just going to be over the moon, especially if it happens in the last minute or a penalty that's a bit dodgy, whatever the case may be. If we score, it's going to be bedlam. Fans will be falling over the top of each other.
I think if you win, obviously you're elated and you're on your phone constantly texting your friends or on social media now. And if you lose, you do your best to try and hide and turn your phone off, I think. But no, it's part and parcel of it, and as much as you feel bad and rotten for a few days, you wouldn't change being part of them games and them games coming around. So they are sort of a love-hate one. You know, if you win, you're loving it. If you lose, then it's a few days of hiding and not showing your face. But that's what it's all about. That's football, and they're the games that you want to be at and playing.
If you lose, it's terrible, it's dire. You don't want to see anybody the next day. You don't want to show your face. And the bragging rights go to whoever's won, and they will remain there until the next game. And obviously in our case, with us being separated by a division, we don't know when the next time is that we'll play them. So it means everything.